Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So today we're going to be using a action wobbler to make a wobble kind of birthday card. So if you want to see how, then just keep watching. Alright, so we're going to do a sort of like a sunflower birthday card. And we're going to use this this is a really old lawn fawn one. I actually got it off of eBay. It's called Our Friendship Grows, and it's got this gorgeous sunflower on it. So I want to do a bright kind of sunflower wobble card. So I'm just going to start off with a little bit of blending card from Express It. I will get those words eventually. Just grabbing a piece of that out. And I'm just going to stamp out the images I'm going to use. So I think I'm going to do a big sunflower and a little sunflower because I think I want to use this little one on the inside. I know I want a big one, so I'm going to put the big one, the little one, some leaves, the vase, and then the stem as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to use my Memento Tuxedo black ink because that's what isn't going to react when I use my Copic markers. Okay, so I think that's all the images I need for now. If I need any more, I can always come back and add some more. So I'm just going to go ahead and colour these in. So I'm going to do that fast, but I'm going to put the colours that I'm going to be using sort of here so you can see, I hope. I don't quite have the light yellow or dark yellow, sorry, that I want. So I'm going to try and add, do the sunflower with a bit of bright yellow and then try and add some orange into it. So I've got Y13, Y15 and YR12 for a little bit of that orange. And then for the middle bit, I'm going to use E74 and E17. So I'm going to start off with, I'll do the sunflower with you guys and then I'll do the rest of them sort of faster. So I'm going to start off with the lighter colour because I want that at the top. So this is Y13. So I'm going to start with that lighter colour at the top of sort of the petals. And then we'll bring Y15 in. Kind of go in the middle. And then bring in that YR12, which is the orangey colour, and put that just in the bottom. Actually, it might be easier to start from the bottom and work out. And then we'll go back to the 15, which is the middle one. Kind of blend that together. What you can do and what I love doing is if I haven't got the colour I need, if I just sort of touch one of the markers to the other ones, I can kind of blend the two colours together and it gives it this nice blend. There you go. So now it's nowhere near as harsh as it was. It's very pale, like it's not a bright orange, but I really don't want it to be that bright orange. I really want it to be a bit yellower. And then I just go in with that really light one back up for the top. So I'm going to continue that the whole way around and I'll be right back. Okay, so for the brown in the middle there, I used E74 and E17. I just put E74 around the edge and then blended in with E17 and then tried to leave a little bit of a light patch in the middle because that's sort of where I'm thinking the light would be hitting it. And then I went back in with that E74 and put some dots in to kind of make it look like that seed thing in the middle of a sunflower. So now I'm going to go ahead and work on the leaves and the stem. So I've got G07, G24 and G21. I'm a little not sure if I'm going to be using G07 yet. Haven't decided if I want this to be like a really bright green or like a really light green. So I'm just going to have a bit of a play with these. So for this one I'm going to work on using the dark first and sort of putting that all around the edge and then along the vein lines of the leaf, and then blending it all together with the G21. I'm just going to add just a little bit of the G07, just where I want there to be just a little bit more green, so probably just along those vein lines again, but on the underside of them, not the top side of them. And then just blend that all out again with G21. It's just a different kind of green, the G07, so it's sort of a little, I never know if it's going to overdo it or not. I really don't like that colour combo. I think it's the G's, I think they're too not bright enough. So what I'm going to do is just grab YG17, which is different, just a different kind of green. I'm going to use that with G07. So I'm just going to really quickly re-stamp out that big leaf because I know I need to. Well, I think I need to. I don't actually know. I think it's just that the other green is just a little bit too muted, and they are high in numbers, so that makes sense. The higher the numbers go, the more muted they are. But still, sometimes it's nice to try some different things. And I'm also not so worried if this isn't A, perfectly blended, or B, kind of perfectly, the colours saturated across the whole thing. Because let's face it, leaves aren't usually like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do the others, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is just the vase, and I still haven't decided if this is the right colour for the vase, so we'll see what happens. I might do another one later. So I'm going to use BO2 and BO1, and I'm just going to use the dark one around the outside to make it look round. So sort of you put the dark one round here first, and I'm going to kind of flick in the edges, and yeah, it looks really rough right now, but when we blend it, it'll all look good. So you kind of flick in the edges, and that kind of makes it look round. And then we'll grab the light one and then sort of blend that together. See how that kind of looks round? It looks a little bit less flat. I think I'll add in a little bit more of the dark blue in a second as well, just to build that up. Alright, so I think that's all of my colouring, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out with the matching dies from this set, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there's a couple in here that don't have dies, which I kind of forgot, but that's okay. So I'm going to grab just my scissors. I'm just cutting them loose so it's a little bit easier to cut these out. And I'm going to try as hard as I can to leave that white kind of line all around the outside. So I'm just doing this really slowly. So this is what you can do if you don't have the matching dies, because they are a bit of an investment. They do cost a fair bit of money, and to get the stamp set and the die set sometimes is a little bit much. And I find you can get really nice results just with cutting these out by hand. You don't have to have the die. It makes life easier, but you don't need them. Obviously for the leaves, this isn't too bad because they're pretty easy kind of shapes to do. The flower would be really hard. Doing that sunflower would be a pain, but that's why I have the dies. You could still do it. You could do it on your Cricut or your Scan and Cuts. I know are designed for that kind of stuff. So if you do have a machine, you can use that. There are always alternatives to buying the dies. And then for the stem, I'm actually gonna leave the white at the top and the bottom. I'm just gonna kind of go along the side. And that's just because I don't actually know yet how long I want this to be. So if I've got extra bits at the top or the bottom, it kind of gives me the ability to use the whole stem. Alright, so we're just about ready to start assembling the card. What I'm going to do is use this plain white card base. I'm pretty sure this one's either from Kmart or Kaisercraft, can't quite remember, but one of those two. And what I want to do is I want to build my base up on some stitched rectangles. So I'm going to grab these ones. These are Lawn Fawn ones as well, and I'm going to grab the largest of the small stitched rectangles. So you see that's just a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, sorry, than my card, and I'll just cut the bit at the bottom off to kind of match up with this. So for my background, I'm going to use a bit of watercolor wishes paper. This is from Lawn Fawn, and I want to get sort of like a blue or a teal. Kind of having it, or wanting to have it match, not match, but be a bit of a contrast with the, joining up with the blue here. I just haven't decided yet what color. Not too dark. There we go. We'll use this one. We'll use this one. So I'm just going to pull that out of the pad. We're going to cut that out with the stitched rectangle. So this is going to kind of be our background. I'm just going to trim off the edge because otherwise it won't go through my die cutting machine. As you would have seen when I was flicking through that pad, I keep all of the extra bits because I never know when I might need just a little bit of watercolor wishes, or Spiffy Speckles is another one from Lawn Fawn that I use all the time. So I'll just run that through. You see, it just gives it this gorgeous sort of stitching around the outside, which just makes it a little bit more interesting. So before we put that one away, I'm also going to grab a bit of craft paper. This is just from a craft stack that I bought from, I think I bought it from Spotlight like a really long time ago. And I don't need the whole of the piece here. I probably only need less than half. But what I want to do is make sure I'm using the straight side of that so that I get a nice straight edge, because I do have trouble cutting those. So I'm just going to line that up with the edge. And so I'm sort of doing like 2/3. I just need to cut off a little bit more over here. I'll run that through too. So you're sort of starting to get the idea of what I'm doing here. So you've got your sort of sky in the background, and just a bit of a suggestion, like if you do have like a pom-pom or a duster of some kind, if you have run it through the die cut machine, just give it a bit of a dust off. I do find that it collects dust on there a lot, and this is just an easy way to get rid of it. So that's going to be the background, and that's sort of going to be the table there that our flower sits on. But I want to give that a little bit more something as well. So I'm going to grab this wood grain die, this stamp. This is from Kaisercraft, but I bought it at Picture to Page a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to grab my super big stamp block. Whoops. Just pull that off. So this is just going to add a little bit of detail to it, and because I've cut that just as wide, it was an absolute fluke, but it's worked, so woohoo! So I'm going to stamp that up, or ink that up, sorry, with some walnut stain ink. It's actually Distress Oxide, but any brown ink would do, but it does the same job. I'm just making sure that's got it all over that. Just going to line that up. If we do happen to miss or we don't get the whole thing, we can always add a little bit more on afterwards. I'm just going to flick that off. There we go. It just adds a bit of detail. It's nothing more than that. You could easily just leave that as the craft, but I just think it makes it look just that little bit more something. Where'd the lid go? There it is. So let's start assembling her up. So we'll work on the panel and then we'll work on putting it on the card. So I'm just going to grab my glue tape and I'm just going to stick that down. I'm just going to leave a little bit not glued at the top so I can squish that. Oh, actually we don't need to do that because we're doing the vase. I forgot about that. So I'm just going to line that up. Actually, it feels a little textured. It's interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, so then the vase is going to go here. And the flower is going to go here. So we're going to bring the vase down just a little. So I'm actually going to find this easier to work. I think I'm going to find it easier to work with the flower first in position, and then we can work the rest of it out. So to make this a little bit cooler and a little bit different, we're going to use these Action Wobble mini springs. I got these from Scrap Dragon, but you can get them from a bunch of different places, and these are just the small ones. So what this does is it just allows something to move, so you just click it, flick it, and it wobbles. So I'm going to use this on the back of the flower just to give this a bit of movement. I'm having real trouble picking things up today. So just going to peel off the backing sticker on here. That's where my tweezers might come in handy. We'll stick that on the back of the flower first, and we'll just give that a good push. But you can see now it kind of just adds a little something. I just love it. I think it's so cool. So I'll stick that there. Just going to work out where I want it to sit. And then we can kind of work around it. So we'll go with the stem next. So sort of have that sitting there like that. You could use, if you don't want to use glue tape for any of this, you could use liquid glue and that would be fine. It would give you a little bit more to work with, or a little bit time to work with as well, because obviously it takes a little bit longer to dry. I think I like it there. And then we can put, those big leaves might actually be too big. It's alright, we can use them on the inside. The leaves on like that maybe. Yes. How cool does that look? Oh, I love that so much. So the leaves and the stem are going to just be stuck down sort of where they are. I'm actually thinking that table's just a little bit too big. I wonder. I'm going to give something a try. I did use my glue dot, so there is a little bit, there's a little bit of give here. I'm just making sure I peel the wood bit forward as opposed to the backing, because I want that backing to stay as solid as possible. So I'm just going to grab my trimmer in. I'm just going to trim off just a little bit of this. It is still sticky, so I'm actually going to use that to my advantage and just use that to stick it down. It's a little bit too much. Not adding any more glue because it's honestly got enough already. And then I'm just going to grab my eraser and just rub off that excess sort of dots that were left behind. It comes off really easily this way, and then you don't have to worry about them. There's one that you sort of can't quite get to. Sometimes you sort of have one that's sort of half sticking up underneath that line. Just use your finger. That works just as well. That's not quite straight. I don't know why it's done that. I must have stuck it down right. I'm being really pedantic now. You don't have to be this pedantic. But I'm actually just going to use my mat this time, just because I can't be bothered getting it back out again. And just use a craft knife and a ruler. I don't know why the fluffer just seems to do a good job there as well. So chuck that in. Righto. So now the sunflower sits in the exact same spot, but it just allows that vase to sit up a little bit higher. So I'll stick that down. This is where I should have used a liquid glue. I was thinking about it and then I forgot. So I'll do it now so I don't forget this time. So I was going to use the liquid glue. This is just my quickie glue pen, just to put these leaves in, because I do want them to sit behind the stem. Oops, I need the other one too. I think I'm just so used to using my glue tape that I kind of forget to use the glue pen. I don't know why. The other thing that's the advantage of using the glue pen is that it doesn't leave the little sticky dots on the corner, which sometimes this does, I'll admit that. So then we just need to stick our flower on. Grab the backing paper off the spring. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially if you don't have fingernails. Although, hold on, I've learnt something. If you bend this together, it just sort of pops up. I learned something. So, just working out which way it sits. There we go. We'll stick that down. So I'm just going to place it first so it's not actually stuck. Make sure it's in the right spot. then give it a bit of pressure. I just love that. I just love it. I'm actually just going to do one more little thing. I'm just going to grab my YG17 marker. I'm just going to go up a little bit further on that stem. You can't see it, especially not when you're looking at it this way, but just when you flick it, you sometimes get just a little bit of a sneak peek at it, which I don't like. So I thought I'd fix that up. All right. So we just need to put our sentiment on there and then we're all good. So I think I want to use one of these wavy banners. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to grab a little bit more watercolor wishes. I think I'll use that same blue and just cut this out. Actually, rather than using the blue, I'm actually going to use a bit of yellow. I think that'll look really cool bringing the yellow from the top down. So I'm just checking first if I've used yellow before, which I haven't. So I'm just going to cut just enough so that way it can stay in the book. I like to leave it in the pad as much as I can. If I'm not going to use the whole page, it just kind of makes more sense to leave it stuck in there. So I'll just run this through the dye machine, just using some of that washi we used before. Actually, I've just had a thought. I'm still going to cut this out, but I'm also going to cut out this other one. So this other one's actually a foldable one, so I'm going to need a little bit more paper. It's just because we've already got that dimension on the top, a little bit more wouldn't hurt. So we'll see which one we like better. This one here has the score marks already made by the die, so you just fold it over and then fold it back, and that gives you that kind of cool 3D banner shape. And I just like to go over it with my bone folder or scoring tool just to make sure that they're really good kind of score lines. So I've got that one, which I'm leaning towards at this point. We've got, yeah, no, it's definitely that one. So then we just need to put our happy birthday sentiment. So we're going to use happy, happy, happy. I think this is just the best happy birthday one. Not just happy birthday, it's got happy Mother's Day, happy wedding, just happy anything. But I'm going to keep this a bit more simple. I sort of thought maybe I'd use a embossing powder for this, but I think I'll just use it normally. So I'm just going to grab the happy birthday that's all the same size. And then the trick to using these kind of bendy banners is just kind of I don't remember how to do this. So you got the happy. There is a way to do this really easily, but I can't quite remember. Oh, that's right. You go upside down. Because that way it's the right way. So we'll just do the happy, kind of bends just a little. And the birthday bends that way. So I'm just sort of bending them because they're acrylic, like they're the sticky things. You guys know what I'm talking about. They'll bend really nicely. So that way they follow the shape of the banner a little bit. So I was going to grab that Memento ink again and just stamp this out. If you're a little worried about this moving around, which sometimes I can get, I just like to grab a little bit of washi and just hold it down. If you just stick it down to your mat or whatever you're working on, it just means it won't wobble around at all. Now the other thing I'm just going to quickly do, because we have that yellow bit behind, the white bit is going to show behind there. So I'm just going to use a little bit of distress ink just to hide the fact that this is white behind there. So I just need to put it on these two little bits. So I'm just going to grab Fossilized Amber because it's it's not a perfect match by any stretch, but it's a close kind of match to this colour. I'm just going to grab a bit of scrap paper out of my rubbish bin that I've been using for other things. So I'm just putting that on the back there. It's not designed to be noticeable, and it's just to take your eye away from the fact that there's white back here. Very, very simple. And then when you do this, you just can't tell as much that that's not the same colour. It's a very tiny addition, but it just helps that little bit. So I'm just going to grab my foam tape. This stuff is just a little wide, so I'm going to grab my smaller foam tape. And it's just going to follow that bend a little bit as well. It's just to make sure that it sits a bit flatter. Then we can put some glue tape on the little banners on the edge. Peel off that backing piece. Make sure there's no dog hair in the way. Because as much as Ryan's grandma loves Jet, I'm sure she doesn't want Jet hair on her birthday card. So I'm just going to line that up and push down. And then you get that cool 3D element of the banner as well as the wobble of the flower. Oh, it's so cool. I love that so much. Alright, so now we're going to finish this up by putting it onto the card base. This bit is the simple part. Excuse Ryan dying in the background. So I'm just going to grab that white. I'm going to use the white as a bit of a border. There we go. That's not too bad. It's not perfect, but it's not horrible. And then on the inside, I'm just going to stick that other flower and that last leaf. I'm not going to use any of the big leaves after I went to all that trouble to kind of cut them out, but oh well. I'm just going to put that down in the bottom corner. So I'm just going to use my liquid glue for that. So use the quickie glue pen to put that down. A little bit of glue on the leaf. I do need to get some more liquid glue. I've never been a big user of liquid glue, but now I've started card making a little bit more. I kind of see the need for it. I need to do some investigating into the best kind of liquid glue. So if you have an opinion on that, please let me know. But there we have it. We have our little wobbler card with our little sunflower that I just love. I just think that's so much fun. I could sit here and wobble that for hours. It did feel like it took a really long time. I'm sure when Ryan edits this, it won't feel that long at all. It is a little bit of work, but I think what you get in the end of it is really worth it. It's simple enough that it doesn't look like it took a long time though, which is really cool. So let me know what you think down below. Give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Let me know if I should have done anything differently, because like I'm still learning some of these things. So happy to take on any feedback from anybody. You can leave it down below or find me on any of my socials. Don't forget to be subscribed so you don't miss any more card making videos from me. Other than that, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!